Coming to you from the Forge of Freedom studio in the heart of America. A podcast dedicated to preserving freedom and inspiring personal success. Freedom is born and lives through you, the individual, and it dies in the shadows of tyranny. Motivating our listeners to become well-rounded, freedom-minded people with the body of an athlete, the mind of a stoic, and the spirit of a warrior. The tree of liberty lives on through you, the Forge of Freedom. And now here's your host, Alex Uli.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Forge of Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Alex Uli, and this is episode 36 of the Forge of Freedom. Today, we're going to discuss a book that covers all the bases that we mentioned in the intro: the body, the mind, and the soul. The book is called You Matter, Your Personal Health Revolution. And I have the authors, Melissa Campbell and David Hildebrand, joining me today to discuss their book. Welcome, Melissa and David.
Good too.
Thank you both for being here. Melissa is a mother of two daughters, a cancer survivor, and a lawyer. She has worked as a prosecuting attorney and a defense attorney, and she began her fitness journey in 1993. And David owns a fitness center. He's married and has two children, and he began his fitness journey in 1975. Now, I know both of you. Melissa, I know a little bit better because we've worked off and on together for a while. And David, you and I met briefly before, but I was introduced to your book when it was released back in 2020. And I thought it was just amazing that both of you could work on this together and come up with a product that is really meant to be a self-help book to sort of encourage people to take control of their own lives and improve their health and improve the rest of their life along with it. So before we get into the book itself, would you mind, both of you, just to say a little bit more about your background and what inspired you to write this book?
Firstly, I'm Dave Hildebrand. Graduated high school in 1980, went to Lincoln Tech, went to the Army, was a mechanic for several years, and decided to go to Ball State, become an educated person, I suppose. And then ended up being a purchasing agent, purchasing manager at a Fortune 200 company. And then retired from that stuff because of various reasons, and then opened a fitness center, and have always been passionate about fitness. You mentioned 1975 I started my journey, so never swerved from it very much. So that's who I am.
Yes, I'm Melissa Campbell. As you mentioned, Alex, we know each other as colleagues and lawyers, but I work here in town where David has his fitness center and go to his gym. And we met at a career day. I was representing my office, and he was there as his gym owner. And we met and started chatting. And actually, there was an upcoming event, a Rugged Maniac, going on in town, and we were both planning to go, and realized we both had an interest in fitness. At that point, I wasn't real serious. I just was learning. And so we met that way. And then I joined his gym and began training with him. And we've worked together almost 10 years together now. I call him my coach. He trains me just about every day. And he's who I go to for fitness advice. And really, as you mentioned, our philosophy, it's more of a philosophy of approaching life. When you mentioned body, mind, and spirit, it's completely encompassing in that way of how we approach fitness and health.
Yeah. And so you met at the career day, and you realized that you were both interested in health and fitness, I guess, because you were going to go to this event. Was it the Rugged Maniac? Is that what you?
It was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And at the time, David, you were running your gym, and you were there on behalf of the gym. And Melissa, were you a prosecuting attorney at that time?
Yes, I was working as a deputy prosecutor here in Washington County, Indiana.
So then when did you decide to write the book? That was, 10 years ago or so when you met?
No, probably 7 years ago.
Yeah, we met. At that time, I started working out with David. We, this is such an important event to me that it's on my calendar, my anniversary at the gym, and I celebrate it every year. And we even do a special workout every year. So we did our 9-year workout anniversary in April. So this is just such a, like we said, it's a personal revolution. It really is. And so it's so life transforming for me that I mark it as any important anniversary. So we know it's 9 years. But a couple years in, after I started working out with David, because he's just the next level as far as a fitness trainer and a coach, it just changed everything for me. And I had mentioned to him, it wasn't just me, it was others that he coached. I said, we need to share what's going on in this gym. I mean, you are really talented. You're very skilled. And he won't say it, but I will. Like, he has 100% success rate. If you do what he guides you to do, you will be healthy and fit and strong. And I said, I had an idea here or two, very small ideas. And he said, well, I want to write a book. And I said, okay. I mean, that was really basically it. And that began the process. I turned to him. He's the expert. He's a fitness coach. He's in the industry. I'm a lawyer. I'm not. But I think that he thought of me as maybe writing skills and editor. So we collaborated. And we worked on it for about 4 years because we're both busy professionals with families. We would work an hour or two together here and there. It took a while to complete it.
I think it's important to state that Melissa, yeah, she's a great writer and stuff like that. That's important. But also, I'm a little bit, as she mentioned, next level or whatever. I don't have any brain as far as other than fitness. I don't mess with it. So I'm sort of in a corner by myself, sort of. And she's not. She's out there, mom, professional lawyer, this, that, and the other. And that's a world that I'm not accustomed to. I'm more of a, I make a joke when I used to run really fast and stuff like that and be in front of the 5K, 10K, marathon, whatever. And we'd always talk about splits and whatever, interval training and junk like that. And then as I got worse or older or whatever, I moved in the back and everybody around me started talking about making their own cat food and stuff like that. I realized there's a difference in seriousness towards fitness that I was not accustomed to. I was in the elite whatever world, but right behind me was everybody else I never even saw. And I don't mean that Melissa, takes it passively. She doesn't, but it's not a world that I'm used to. Used to, dealing with, the better runners or stuff, people like that. But I didn't deal with the real world.
So David, when you said to Melissa, I want to write a book, what did you have in mind? Was it exactly what you actually turned out in You Matter, or did you have something else in mind?
It evolved. Let's put it that way. It took 4 years, she said. But through the discussion of me being, I only dealt with the, heroes or whatever, and real world, it led down to 4 basics. And that's really as simple as it is. Being from 1975 is a long time ago, guys. I've done the other stuff, and then it came down to the okay, let's get down to what did I really do? What did I really accomplish over 40 years? What did I really focus on? And it became 4 things: nutrition, sleep, lower stress, and exercise. And that's it, guys. I mean, everything else is nonsense. It's too much work. Let's get down to simple. Let's do simple. Became what the book is, You Matter. Let's do simple so we don't get complicated, because there's plenty of complicated stuff out there that takes about a week to read, and you throw it in a dustbin. So
that's one thing I certainly appreciate about your book is that you take a complex subject, or what a lot of people turn into a complex subject, and really make it, put it into a form that's easy to understand, easy to digest, and that's relatable to people's everyday lives. It's not so much about the nuances of a diet or counting calories or, making sure you do certain types of exercises. I mean, it really emphasizes, things that people can apply in their lives today, which I think is amazing. So one thing I'd like to, I think, talk about as we get into the book here is, in chapter 1, you start out with the importance of having a support person, what you call a confidant. Can you talk about that a little bit? And Melissa, maybe I'll turn to you here for this question.
You will, but I almost want to give it back to David, only because this is when he said we collaborated and that he came from next level. I refer to myself as one of the mere mortals. He does not understand why everyone doesn't get up and work out and do the work and watch their nutrition. When we talked and collaborated over those years, I offer the other perspective of this is why we can't get our kids picked up from school and then back to their activities and still eat nutritious meals and take care of ourselves. So I kind of add that perspective. He introduced to me the idea of having a confidant, and he's mine, and I'm lucky to have him. It's not always easy to find a person to serve this role. We've talked about this at length. It's really a person that is your coach, not your spouse, not your best friend, probably not your coworkers. Someone who will be very honest with you, someone that will cut through the nonsense, as he says. If I come to him and present to him an issue that I'm having, either with an injury or why I can't get to the gym, or struggles I'm having at the gym, either mentally or physically, he will always advocate for me in a way that keeps me on track. If it's a good friend or your husband or wife, sometimes they have other distractions and they're not the expert, and they're not always going to guide you in your fitness and health journey in the right way.
Would you say, and David obviously is a professional health coach, fitness coach, would you say it needs to be somebody with that kind of expertise, or can it be somebody else?
No, it can be somebody else. I think what we talked about just recently in preparation for this podcast was what is a good confidant for the gym junkie public? Does it always have to be some amazing fitness guy or whatever person? No, it depends on the person's goal. If we used an example of, I want to quit smoking, or if everybody around you says, I want to quit, that's a great goal. That doesn't make them experts. That's a great goal. You guys you've adopted that as your goal. I want to quit smoking, for an example. And then now go find somebody who is an expert for just that one goal. You can have 15 different confidants. It doesn't have to just be one. It can be, someone who's great at nutrition, someone who's great at quitting smoking, someone who's, great in social responsibility or whatever you want to be. Though you don't have to identify one person entirely to take care of everything. Scout around, find out someone who can advocate for you, for your goal. That'd be done.
And Alex, I likened it to almost like a fiduciary relationship, to make a legal analogy here. I think David's good at it, and I can serve in this capacity. I have become that for others just with my experience, and people come to me and I feel so often like, what business do I have? But I think I offer the life experience as not being the expert at fitness that can really help people. And when I say that is, if I were to suggest I was going to try some trendy diet or fad diet, David would cut me right to the quick and say, he'd question me, why are you doing that? Does that make any sense? What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? Whereas your friend at the office might say something like, ooh, that sounds fun. I want to lose a few pounds too. I'll do it with you. And they're not really analyzing it critically and helping you. They might be joining in on a bad path with you. And so that's where someone who will be objective and really lead you in the right way, and may even have to be kind of harsh with you at times about your goals you're setting. What goals you set are such an important aspect of what we think about, and what I think reminds me of your the purpose here of your podcast and philosophy of personal responsibility, looking at the goals we set.
Well, and I
It's
think
okay to have great beyond okay to have your spouse, friends, whatever, coworkers agree with your goal, but then then discover if they're able to help you or not. If they're not, move on. Go find someone who is. That's a great goal. Now go find somebody who's awesome at achieving it.
mhm.
Be done.
Well, and I think David, you and Melissa complement each other really well, and I think that the book is much better for it, because at least partly why I relate to the book fairly well, I think, is because David, you bring a lot of the expertise, about the goal setting and fitness and nutrition, but Melissa, you bring sort of that. How do you incorporate these things into a lifestyle where fitness and nutrition is not your day-to-day job? It's not your career. You have a professional life. You have a career outside of these things. And I think that's where lots of people struggle. And you get into that quite a bit in the book. And I think you try to set aside some of these misconceptions that people have about, how they can incorporate healthy living, healthy nutrition and fitness into their life. So with that in mind, I guess, can you talk a little bit about goal setting and how people should go about that?
I think break it down into you can use the Pareto analysis. You can identify 10 things that you'd like to move in, then pick and choose. You have the resources. You need to have an enclosed argument that I want to achieve something. Have everybody around there that can help you on that, so that you can actually do it. Because batting at it leads to frustration. Circle the thing and say, what do I need? And then move forward with whatever it is. It can be easy, it can be hard, but you have to have a circled wagon. Otherwise you're going to get frustrated, and you'll end up stopping and saying, it's my genetics or something, when it's actually you just didn't have a full circle of help.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned from David about goal setting, and we talk so much about in the book, is most people decide they're going to join a gym and they want to lose weight. And right there, David, I can hear his voice in my head now, right? But start breaking that down and breaking it apart a little bit. Why do you want to lose weight? What's the point of losing weight? Who cares what your weight is? Why do you want to look good? Is it just because you want to look good in a certain outfit? He would really start gently, but he would be critical about that. And it's in a very important way of what you really want is health. You want a healthy blood pressure. You want a healthy blood sugar level. You want healthy cholesterol levels. Those don't sound very glamorous, but they're going to carry the day. And if you set those as your goals, I want to be able to pick up my grandchildren and play with them at the park. I want to kayak with my friends. Those are goals he's going to really suggest are more important goals to set. They're better goals, and they really achieve what you need in life. And this is where I think so much of our philosophies overlap, of the fitness industry, the beauty industry. You want to be skinny, you want to look young. It's almost never, you have to almost tune all of that out. You have to think for yourself. You have to think independently. You have to know what you need in your own life, and you really have to block out almost everything you see in the media. It's bad advice. It's misguided. It's money making. And David touched on his business career, but as purchasing and as an engineer, like you see him apply those skills. Everyone's trying to sell you something and make you feel like you look bad, so you want to look differently. If you have a confidant or read our book, right, then you think of things more like what you really want out of life, and that's to have energy and sleep well and be a good partner in your marriage and be able to be there for your children. So that's what we look at when setting health goals.
Mm-hmm.
One thing,
I think. Oh, go ahead, David.
I'm sorry. In the title of the book, if you look at the size of you, is You Matter, is the name of the book, not some mirror on the wall or some commercial on TV or some book that you want. You're the one that matters. And I use this example. It's kind of a silly, but at 2 a.m., what's important to you is the size of your biceps or your makeup or whatever, or your heartbeat. Which one's important to you guys? And that kind of narrows in the goal setting. It better be about you. It better be you only. If you're the only one left on earth, what are you going to do? You're going to take care of yourself, aren't you? You're not going to look good. You're not going to comb your hair. You're going to freaking have a heartbeat.
Yeah. No, I think this relates, Melissa, to your analogy to the fiduciary. A lot of times people will meet with financial advisors as fiduciaries, and they'll say, well, where do you see yourself in retirement? And most people are like, well, with a big pile of money. But that's not really what they want. They don't want the big pile of money, right, for its own sake. They want it so that they can travel, so that they can, do the things they want to do. And it's helpful to sort of refocus your goals in that way, like you said about your health. It's so that you can, that you can do the day-to-day tasks that you want to do later into life, so that you're not, disabled, so that you can be with your children, be active with your children, and not have the cost associated with not being able to live. And you talk about that in the book too, is sort of looking at your health, your fitness as an investment, right? That so often people say, joining a gym or eating healthy food, it's too expensive. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you sort of look at your fitness and your health as an investment?
Yes, I tell people you can shut off my electricity before you can take away my gym membership, and I'm mostly serious about that. It's critical to my everyday. When people see us working out, especially if we're really training hard, so sometimes ask, what are you training for? And it makes me think of your show and your intro, right? We're training for life. I'm training to live my daily life, to be strong. And I think we are people as professionals, we like to operate at a high level. And I think your listeners are often like-minded, that are interested in the pursuit of, personal fulfillment and betterment and being a leader for those in our lives. And if you're going to do that, you need to have a good night's sleep. You need to be healthy. You need to eat well. You cannot take care of your family if you're exhausted at the end of every day and you have to take lots of medication and you can't function. So honestly, it's critical. You matter. You've got to take care of yourself and your health in the real ways that matter, not to skip eating or taking pills to get skinny, because that doesn't make you stronger and fitter and, improve your heart strength and your endurance. You've got to really get after it and take care of yourself to compete in life and to participate in life in a real way. Even when you're still young, we're still all relatively young and healthy, but we need it. I need to get I need to take care of my mental health at the gym and physical health.
I think one thing that's real important is, you touch on it, the economics is an investment. Yes, it is. It's an investment is designed to pay back, right? Not be an expense. An expense, you throw away money, and that's fine too. But if it's an investment, then does it pay you back? Do I go to the doctor less? We talked about this the other day. Which one more cost effective, a healthy person on vacation or someone who's unhealthy on vacation has to 100% buy their entertainment, 100% buy everything, or you can go kayaking for next to nothing, or go hike or whatever for next to nothing. If you're healthy, you can do those things. It's very cheap in a way. That's part of the investment piece. You pay some money to go to the gym or whatever like that, but it's very chump changey because you can eat healthier. You don't have to eat repetitively because, if you go to a fast food restaurant, very likely within a couple hours you're hungry again. But if you eat healthy, it's 4 or 5. Sometimes I eat, I call it gruel for breakfast or something like that. But heck, sometimes at 3 or 4 in the afternoon before I'm hungry again. Was it healthy food? Sure it was, but I didn't have to eat again in 2 hours. Did it cost a penny more? Probably, but is it very cheap because I was able to extract more out of the energy that I put in my body? It became very cheap, and then by the way, I'm healthier too.
Yeah.
Is that not a win-win? Not definition win-win?
Yeah, I think it is for sure. The one thing I like to, and you've got a whole chapter on the economic aspect of this. I think it's chapter 5. I think that's what it was. But where you talk about the return on your investment and sort of changing people's mindset around money and their health and fitness. But one thing I'm a big fan of, his name's Dr. Hyman. And he says, and I think you all convey this message in your book too, that the goal is not necessarily to live forever, right? But it's to be young until you die. That's the way he puts it. It's so that you can live your life. It's not just about surviving. The goal is to actually live and enjoy life and have a fulfilling life and a purposeful life. And you can't do that if you're not healthy, if you don't invest in your own health and well-being.
Well, what's interesting is you're right. I don't want to die at 50 and bury me at 80. That's a problem. B, we spend over $10,000 per person per year in healthcare costs. That's expensive.
When I met David, one of the first things I remembered, he was at the gym that morning because he was out kayaking with Ann, a woman at the gym, and Ann's in her 80s. So he had taken Ann out to the lake and had her in the kayak. And I thought, okay, that's a person I want to work with. That's a person that would identify what really matters. For one, just the personal enjoyment she would have of that, but just the capabilities that she had at her older age, and she was doing deadlifts into her 80s as he continued to train her, and it gave her so much joy, and it helped her mental health very much and physically. So absolutely, it's one of the chapters. I think it's right after economics is quality of life. And that's one of really the most important. It's hard to ever say, but I my favorite changes every day, but it is about quality of life.
Yeah. I think that's the most important. I agree with you, Melissa. That's really the goal here is to improve your quality of life and hopefully the quality of life of those around you, especially if you have children, right? Because and you talk about children in the book too, they'll often emulate what you do and how you live. So it's a great way not only to change your own life, but the lives of the ones you love, right? You've got a chapter, I'm going out of order here a little bit, but you've got a chapter 2, about myths and untruths, and there are quite a few here. I don't think we'll get to all of them, but I'd like to talk about a few of them. One thing is that the first one you mentioned, a calorie is a calorie. You want to say a little bit about that?
A calorie goes into broccoli. Calorie is not the same as a sugar calorie. Your body doesn't used to sugar. It finds sugar. You give it sugar, so it had to do something with it. It most likely moved to fat. But a broccoli calorie is something you use. So a calorie is not a calorie. It may be the cause of eat so many calories per day, but can you use it? And most times, if we eat junk, most times you cannot. And fast food breakfast or something like that, as I mentioned earlier, and you're hungry 2 hours later, did you extract all the calories? You ate, I don't know, 1,500 calories or something with your McDonald's breakfast. But did you use 1,500 calories, or did you basically waste all of it? And if I ate, 500 calories of gruel, and I'm good till 3 or 4 in the afternoon, it's far from the same thing. I ate fewer calories, but I got more out of it. So calorie, not calorie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one concept that always has kind of stuck in my head is this idea of nutritional density too, right? It's not just about the calories, like you're saying. There's nutrition associated with those calories too. There are other things, right, in terms of vitamins and minerals and essential, amino acids and things like that, right? So not all food is created equal, and just like not all calories are created equal. Is that fair?
It is. The importance of it and attacking it in the myths and untruths is every day. And these are the things I offer to David, because I'm in the back of the marathon runners. In fact, I'm not even there. But if I were there, I'd be in the back with those talking about shopping for cat food or something. But everyone, it seems, struggles with weight. It's an epidemic in our country, and it's the focus on it is misplaced, I think. But there is it's all that people seem to focus on. I want to be thinner. I want to look different. And then they start counting calories, manning calories, micromanaging everything they eat, and all these varieties of diets. And there's a couple of things about that. Just like we said, I don't count anything that I eat. David doesn't either. Haven't for years and years. It's just eat good food, eat healthy, good food, fruits and vegetables, natural foods. And you can eat what you need and eat when you're hungry. And it's very simple. Like we keep coming back to what's simple. Things that are packaged from a store, they're trying to sell you stuff. They don't care about nutrition. As a purchasing agent, as David worked, it's not even food. They do everything they can to make it cost effective, to make a buck off you and give you something that's not even food. So when you go back to your own personal responsibility of thinking for yourself and assessing for yourself what would make good if you cared about your own health, and that's just eat good food. And so that's what leads people down all these really bad paths, I think. It's not that it's even attacking them for not eating right. It's just they're never achieving their goal, and then they're never happy, and they don't know why. And it's like, okay, if you work with a confidant that talks to you about your nutrition, or read our book and think about it in those ways, then you start thinking about just eating good food. If you can't do it for 30 years, don't do it, right? So the diets, the crazy plans, the highly restrictive, the micromanaging, you just need to live life and not think about what you're going to eat every day, other than just planning healthy, nutritious foods. And so that's why it's important to, stop all the approaching nutrition and health in these misguided ways that it's the industry that's pushing it. And that's what's so disheartening. Even doctors, sometimes even the medical profession is not guiding us in the right way.
Yeah. component of that is if they advertise, this is kind of a make it simple. Look, I love simple. If they advertise it, there's a reason for it. Someone paying for it, someone wanting you to do something that you don't want to do necessarily, but they're trying to convince you of it, that you need it. You'll die without it for some reason or another. If you hear that, question it, why are you even listening to that? How many commercials have you had for broccoli? None. None. Right. So
Yeah, exactly.
But everybody knows that broccoli is good for you. Well, how many commercials have you had for yogurt? Thousands. Is that good for you? And ever good for you? So kind of in the education world, make it simple. You can shop around the grocery store and be done. Don't even go down the advertising aisle. And it's interesting too, if you go into a grocery store, everything that's canned or boxed has a label that an artist had put together for it, paid money to make it enticing. But again, pick on broccoli or onions or junk like that or sweet potatoes that in the bulk bin has no advertising. Why? How did they? Are they lying to you? And the answer is yeah.
Yeah. I think
just accept that and be done.
And to that point, I think a good strategy that works for me anyway is that a rule of thumb is that most of the good food is on the outside of the grocery store, right? And the stuff in the middle you have to be more careful about. Or avoid entirely, right? Yeah. One thing, and this I think is coming back to your point a little bit, Melissa, that food is certainly important, but this is not a singular focus. We need more of a holistic approach. People need a more holistic approach to their health, to their wellness. A lot of people try to either focus solely on diet or solely on exercise, and you've got a section in here. You can, as a myth, you can exercise your weight off, and that's just not really true, is it?
Really far from true, actually. I rode, I have a rower over to the club, Concept 2 rower, rode 10,000 meters. It took me 48 minutes. And I was sweating like crazy. I was keeping about 220 pace or something like that for 500 meters. At the end of it, I did at the end of 48 minutes, I did 542 calories. A Big Mac, 700 or 800 calories. So, one Big Mac wiped out what I did in 48 minutes. So can you exercise it off? Not a chance. If you run on a treadmill, walk on a treadmill, 150, 200 calories tops. It doesn't matter how fast you run. It doesn't matter how slow you walk. You're not going to, walk 5 miles a day. Good deal. You just did about 1,000 calories. That Big Mac and a half.
Yeah, and this is from a gym owner. David will tell you, people come into the gym, they want to lose weight. That's what everyone says. And he will tell you, you don't lose weight in the gym. You lose weight by nutrition, better nutrition. And if losing weight's even an accurate goal, it may not be. When I first started working out with David, I gained 10 pounds and he thought that was great. I mean, he high-fived me, but I had more muscle and it was a great thing. So that goal in and of itself isn't a good one, and it doesn't happen at the gym. It's a component. It can be, right, if you build muscle and it enhances your metabolic conditioning, and scientifically it can enhance weight loss, but it won't run past a bad diet.
Make it a little bit of a telling on the gym industry, which I'm a member of. It started out in roughly the 70s or something. Everybody wanted to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger, bigger biceps, bigger thighs, lats and junk like that. That's what they used to sell the gym on. In the 80s, 90s, or wherever people started getting obese, even up to today. And the gym said, in order to make money, I need to sell this as a weight loss competitor to Jenny Craig or what have you. So they went down that road, and they've stayed on that road because they've made a lot of money from that. But it's not mathematically possible that you can do that. You can lose weight just in the gym, you can keep your bad diet and go exercise it off. No, you won't. You'll gain fat. Is what will actually happen to you.
Yeah, and again, the point of
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, the point of attacking that is more because we see so many people think I'll join a gym and then everything will be fixed. And it's better if you come into it with a myth, just starting out with an inaccurate assumption, you're not going to find the success you want, and it's not going to help you become healthier, which is really what people should be achieving. So that is why we point these things out, because we repeatedly I see it as one who's not in the fitness industry, and David sees it at the gym, people seeking the wrong goals or having misguided way. And the problem, right, David says this all the time, you're never going to be any younger than you are this minute. So you spend another 6 minutes or another 6 months joining a gym, piddling around at the gym, stopping at McDonald's on the way home, and you're making no progress. And in fact, it's getting worse. And then you lose, it's not to be critical of people. It's sad to see that a person, if you don't have a confidant or learn some good information, then you're still, you want it, you just don't know how to get it, and you're not realizing where your path should be corrected to really achieve the goals you want.
And this really comes full circle back to the beginning of our discussion about goal setting and having the right goals. You know, that person that comes in and says, I want to lose weight, that's probably not really what they want. If you dig down deeper, like you said, Melissa, you may in fact gain weight if you're putting on muscle, you're getting stronger. But I think oftentimes too, people whose goal or stated goal anyway is just to lose weight often set themselves up for failure.
They do. And on the flip side of that, you know, there is a lot of good news out there too. And people that do set good goals and join a gym and do intense workouts and modify their nutrition. If I've had friends over the years, and I know David's seen it too as a gym owner, they don't even care anymore. If you're strong, I don't have a scale. I weigh myself once a year at the doctor's office. If I can go for a run, if I can go for a long hike, if I can carry my kayak out to the lake, if I can load it up on top of the car, if I can help my kids onto the monkey bars, I know that I'm where I need to be, and it doesn't matter what the number says. And that's against what all the fitness industry tries to make you think. And it's not just that you should feel that way. You do. You feel good. You feel strong. You feel capable. You feel healthy. And you find yourself, I've heard so many people say, I put my bikini on now and I look about the same and I don't care because I feel great. It really changes. You get self-esteem, which is one of our chapters. It impacts your self-esteem and your competence, and then your outlook changes. You do move away from the facade and the vanity of media and fitness industry that just leads you down all those bad paths because they don't care about you. You have to care about yourself.
Yeah. I think, and I really love this chapter too, because it's loaded with lots of, you just take head on a lot of the misconceptions that people have about health and fitness. One that I see or hear a lot, because people my age are starting to have children, is we can't do it. We just can't do it because our kids won't eat this or that. Can you talk a little bit about how to incorporate your kids, how to get them on board with this sort of lifestyle?
I think the easiest way is to start with in diapers. Never deviate from it. When you go down the commercial path, trappings, Happy Meals or whatever like that. I'm picking on McDonald's, should do that. If you go down the paths of treats, and I use this example too. I was in Japan back in '95. And they went to a grocery store in Japan, and they had the same stuff as we do at checkout counter. Candy bar. We use candy bars and whatever candy basically to get that last second sale. They do the same thing in Japan. The only difference, I saw some probably 4-year-old kid. I didn't speak Japanese. I don't speak Japanese at all. But was screaming at his mom that the kid wanted something right there. And I looked at, because mom told him no, just like we do here. Mom told him no, put it back. Put it back. You don't need it or something. I picked it up. It was a rice cracker wrapped by seaweed that this kid was screaming about. That's where you start, not by kowtowing to, well, you want a Snickers bar, and then, well, to shut the kid up, I'll just go ahead and buy it. You're asking for problems. And right then and there, they're 4 years old. So don't ever let them go down that path. When at the checkout counter that they're going to have trappings there, figure it out. Think about it in advance that's going to happen to 100% of every parent. It doesn't matter what country you're in. It's going to be a trapping going to be there. So accept it or figure something out for the kid so that it doesn't take you a few seconds to think about that. Yeah, it does. So you get a lifetime of not having this kid drive you nuts, right? For those few seconds that you thought about the answer. So take time to deal with those few seconds. It's going to happen to 100% of the parents out there. Promise you.
Yes, I can speak to that. It's hard. When we wrote this book, right, my children were younger. One of the things is my children don't have a car and they don't have a debit card and they can't go to Kroger and pick out the groceries. So if you just remind yourself, right, you control what's inside of your home. So what's accessible in the house, what's stocked in the shelves, what's in the cupboard. So stocking it with healthy options, healthy snacks. Of course, everybody needs a treat sometimes. So that is part of it. Then I've now transitioned into I don't have as much control, right? Our children go to friends' house, they can go to school and select some things. So my children are having some things I disapprove of. Having a soda is a big deal in my house. I think it's up there with the high crime, and I'm a prosecutor. But and everyone around us. I mean, one of our points of our book, and having a confidant, and all of the influences around you, where you have to be right, think of personal responsibility and be independent thinker. Everyone acts like I am so strange. My children don't have sodas. I don't let them have it. I don't have it in the house. I don't like it. I speak against it. If they bring one home that they had when they were out with a friend, I don't try to control what they think. And I know I heard your Mother's Day episode, right, about mothers not. I love that very much. I let my children, I'm teaching them to think on their own and make their own decisions. But I will say, that's not a healthy choice. And I wish that you would choose that even on your own. And I hear them talk to their friends. They're not perfect, right? They'll get a Coke. If you'll give it to them, they'll love it. If you take them to McDonald's, they'll love it. But I'll yell at you. But they talk about it. They'll say, my mom always chooses organic vegetables. We always have lots. My mom doesn't let me have a Sprite except maybe once a year. So I hear them say it. So I think playing the long game with your children and modeling good behavior, they see it, developing habits. If I'll say, okay, you had a Coke, it was the party. I understand, you enjoyed that. Let's always remember to drink water daily and just kind of help them establish habits. It's easy to ignore, I think, in children. Many don't struggle with weight, some do, but it's easy to let it slide. But I think it's so important not to. If they're developing habits, they're going to be 20 years old trying to figure out how to not start diabetes medication if you don't get them on the right path with those habits and educate them.
I think you hit on a very important thing to think of in the long term. I just did a Spartan race on Sunday with my daughter, who's 21, and this is probably her 9th or 10th Spartan. I've done about 19 of them, and she's 21, so she started when she was 13. I actually lied on her signing her in at the Spartan race, saying that she was a year old, because you have to be 14 to do a Spartan. She was 13. I said she's 14. But she did her 9th one just this couple days ago. Is that worthwhile to think the long term? When she was 5 and something, yeah, it is, because now I don't even worry about my daughter's health, because they're going to do smart things. I already know that. And I started when they were diapers. Yes, I did. Um, is it worthwhile? Yes, it is. It sets him up for a lifetime of success. It is not the point of being a parent. You
Yeah.
know, that,
Yeah.
that
I think
let's start early.
modeling the good decision making, the good lifestyle. I think children are smarter than we give them credit for. And I think they will pick up on that and not only see that it benefits you as their parent, but also benefits them. And hopefully they understand the why, behind the type of lifestyle. And I think there's a lot of trust that has to happen there. You can't force them to do certain things. Like you said, Melissa, when they're on their own, if they're with friends, et cetera, but hopefully that why sticks with them and your example sticks with them. So I've gone through a few of the myths, but you've got quite a few here. I don't want to give away the whole book. People will have to read the book for sure. But Melissa, you mentioned self-esteem and having a healthy self-esteem. And I think, like you said, being able to do the things you want to do really raises your self-esteem. You talked about loading a kayak onto the vehicle or taking it to the lake. But those sorts of things don't mean that you don't still encounter struggle, right? Inevitably, there are going to be people who try to downplay your way of life or say, why aren't you just consuming the product we're consuming or living the way we're supposed to live? You want to talk a little bit about that?
I think I say this on every topic, right? I'm like, this is the most important point, but this is such a strong point in the book. And we talk about, I encounter it daily. I would just about say every day I step foot out of my house. And I don't know if David does as much. He's running at the front of the pack with the marathoners and running a gym, but being, you're against the grain. It feels like constantly going against the grain. And that is, being an independent thinker, valuing your own health, and thinking about what advances your own health and prioritizing yourself, you will find yourself living very differently than those around you. And for one, it just baffles me every day. If I'm not giving my children Mountain Dew and people are asking me why, instead of, and I'm not going to do this because we want to have friends and be nice to our friends, but I don't say, why are you giving your 5-year-old Mountain Dew? That's an astonishing thing to me. And, just based on the sugar and the health impact. So if you're feeding your children healthy meals, they're asking you why aren't you getting them happy meals? If I bring my lunch every day and I'm planning meals every day and I'm always saying no to the run out for treats, I'm almost always on my own. Just all my decisions of food. I go to the gym every day at lunchtime. I do have friends that have gone with me, and that's wonderful. But usually people are spending their time differently. And most of my habits are just very different from those around me. So the part about self-esteem is one, we wrote a chapter on that one, so you expect it. If you start lifting weights and you go to Thanksgiving dinner, your grandmother might say, women ought not to be lifting weights, or, have some opinion about why you're lifting weights, or you don't have to be so fanatical. People have comments constantly about your decisions. Why aren't you having hot dogs at the cookout? Why are you choosing something differently? It's all day, all the time. So you've got to just develop your own inner strength to be convicted in what's important to you. And so that's why we address that. I see it so often. It's hard. You want to go out for drinks, and I'm not saying you can't have a drink, but just some of the go out for the smoke break, or go out for drinks every night, or get the fast food at lunch with friends. There's a social component to all of that, and you really have to be strong and have self-esteem. And before you get it, because it doesn't come in the beginning. For one, you may not be expecting it. When you're making good choices, you don't know why people are working against you, but it makes other people feel maybe you think you're better than them, or you're critical of their choices, and you're not. You're just making your own personal decision to make a change. And so you'll find a lot of resistance and a lot of pushback, and being prepared for it lets you know it's not you. It's nothing you're doing wrong. Stay the course. Having the confidant helps you. And over time, right, then you end up making friends that are like-minded as well. You don't have to lose your friends that have different habits, but you'll kind of find camaraderie at the gym or where in your Spartan workout group, or people you kayak with who also share some of the same outlook. So that's why it's really important to think about it. It's a strong reason why people fail.
Yeah, I think it's good that you pointed out in the book, because I think people sometimes underestimate this point and how strong the social pressure is, because there are some people who unknowingly will offer you a piece of cake even though you don't want it, because they don't know that that you don't want to eat the cake. But there are others who go a step above. They offer you the cake because they want you to fail. I mean, it even goes that far sometimes. They want to drag you down to their level to sort of be miserable with them because they don't have the discipline to live that lifestyle. Have you seen that?
Oh, yes, they do. It intimidates people you're close to. And I think I've seen it in spouses, marriages, relationships. If you make positive changes, and I think it can make people around you kind of feel insecure, that you're going to think you're better than them, or it's going to be a divide between you. So it makes people uncomfortable. Over time, I think if you stay the course and you stay healthy, and people see, oh, this is just working well for her, and she's not changing, and she's still my loving partner or friend. And then they might even come to you, and you may be a confidant for that person. So I think you get through that tough component of it. But in the beginning, it can be very influential for those who are newly transitioning into prioritizing their health.
Yep. So we've obviously we're not going to cover everything in your book. We want to leave enough information out there so people actually read it, because us talking about it doesn't do it complete justice. But I'd like to talk about a few more things, if that's okay with you all. There's a chapter in here about failure. Actually, it's just called Fail. You want to say a little bit about that?
I think it's really important. That's kind of if you go to the gym, or if you go to life and you stay in the course of what you can do, you never grow. You never, and most likely, those who succeed in business or whatever absolutely have failed 10 times to their one success. So if you're afraid of failure, you only want to succeed, very unlikely you'll get ahead. So you have to get outside yourself. You have to go outside the comfort zone to make a change. And that's the same in the gym. The obvious answer is, for me to do. I remembered this will tell myself a power clean. I could not get a 135-pound power clean to save myself. I figured it out. Once I figured out what the problem was, why I did not, because I failed for 7 or 8, 10 years to get above a 135-pound power clean. I figured it out. I was much older. I was 10 years older, and I went to 165-pound power clean after I figured it out. So the idea of giving up, I'm only going to do it within myself. I stopped at 95 pounds. Going on into the world of fail let me achieve 165. In business, it's the same thing, or in life, it's the same thing. You fail 10 times over one success. So if you're afraid of that, if you want to stay in your comfort zone, then you probably will get ahead.
David taught me this concept. I did not understand it for a long time that we started working together. And one distinction he'll make is good failure and bad failure. If you set a goal to get skinny and join a gym and you never go and you just fail, well, that's bad failure. You had the wrong goal. You need to start over. But good failure are kind of like what he described. And, recently I'm working on a goal right now with David. It's a workout goal, lifting a certain weight. And it's with rucking. And we've been working on it. And I have failed. And but I'm getting closer and closer. So, I had a goal of getting a certain number. Well, I got it 2 or 3 times. And so I didn't meet the goal. But I did it a few times. If I just kept doing what I can already do, I'd just remain the same. I will get that. I really have no doubt in that. It's just going to take some time. And the point is not just, it's nice to grow and be outside of your comfort zone. Those are just nice things to do as a person striving for success. But it has real value in that in fitness and strength, right? It's the sharpening the irons. If I'm going to go to that gym and lift 50 pounds every day for the next 10 years, maybe that's okay. But I'm not going to get stronger. I'm going to lose I'm not going to continue to have the benefits of my health. So I'm getting stronger and stronger all the time because I keep failing at new things I'm trying. It's very difficult for people that join the gym, especially those of us who like to operate at a high level and do things we're good at. We look foolish. We feel foolish. We make goofy mistakes. We look a mess, a lot of times back there working out, trying new goals. And so you have to kind of get past the fact that you need to show up and do really well. If you can do really well, the first thing David's going to do is change what you're working on because that means it's no longer a challenge for you. So getting really comfortable with failure is not easy, and understanding the point of it is not obvious, or it wasn't to me. Now it seems that way as it's been such a benefit, but it just stands in the way of people succeeding or trying at getting stronger or fitter or healthier.
I think it's a huge boost to your self-esteem if you can do what you used to not be able to, that all of a sudden you can. It pops your self-esteem up, and that's a worthwhile goal to have, is your self-esteem as high as possible. And it's only through failure that you can achieve that kind of a self-esteem boost. If you just stay within yourself, you do what you can do, you'll never, you always make the brownie mix out of Duncan Hines, picking on them, or to avoid homemade because they may not taste as good. Well, then maybe you just need to figure it out. And then now you've made a healthier brownie or whatever it is. You just eat on everything, just go a little bit beyond what you're used to so that you can grow. Growth is never a bad thing.
Yeah, I think this is an extremely important concept, not just in health and wellness and fitness, but in so many areas in life. It's a willingness to fail, to challenge yourself, but not a complacency. Not an acceptance of failure, and you don't want to just stay where you are. And this reminds me of a quote. I was trying to think of it while we were talking here, and I just looked it up. It's a Michael Jordan quote that you've probably heard. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Yeah. And I just thought, yeah, that's exactly captures the point of this chapter, I think, in your book, about being that willingness to fail, but to push forward. David will say, I think he's quoting Bobby Knight when he says it, right? It's my job to watch the scoreboard. So as for me, one of the mortals coming to the gym who's just going to work out for an hour, 45 minutes, an hour a day, I'm not going to run a marathon. That's just not a goal I've set. But if I show up every day and
in some classes you'll keep score of who came in first, second, or third. And I've joked, but it's true. I've gone to gyms all over Southern Indiana, and I've usually come about last. And people think I'm being humble or funny. I'm not. I usually come about in last. But what's happened is I've gone to the gym and I've come in last every day for over 9 years. And so what's resulted is I'm fit and strong. And so I can't lose. I'm trying and trying, and it's not demoralizing. I'm working out with 23-year-old athletes and things, so it's fine. But what's happened in the process is I've gotten really fit, and so that's the worst news of it.
If you stay in your comfort zone, you'll I'm not going to succeed. You're okay with that. You're okay with not optimizing anything. But if you're willing to fail, sky's the limit, guys.
Now, we've talked a little bit, and I think it's becoming evident that, if you read any one of these chapters in isolation, your book may not be necessarily, it'll be beneficial, but not as beneficial if you read the whole thing, because it's really a holistic approach, right? And whether that's this conversation about failure or self-esteem or diet and exercise, it really all is related. And you've got a chapter at the end about motivation and really answering that question of why. And I know we talked about this at the beginning, but I think it's important to talk about it here close to the end of the conversation too. You mind to say a little bit about this motivation chapter and this question of why?
Well, and I think in your podcast, I've always listened, and you quote other books that you follow and philosophies that have influenced you. And, the Atomic Habits are one that is, I think every human being should read. It's about developing habits. I walk into the gym almost every day at noon or real close to it. And about half the time I come in and say, I don't feel like doing this. I'm seriously, I would love to just take a break. I'd love to just sit at my desk and have something to eat. So I walk in there kind of sluggishly, not really quite in the mood. But I just show up, and then I have a workout, and I feel incredible the rest of the day. By getting 4 or 5 in during the week, I go home at the end of the week feeling strong and fit. I'm sleeping well at night. Mentally, it helps me deal with stress. There's a lot of stress in our profession. So the motivation is not going to, some days I can't wait to go to the gym because I do love it. But many days, because I'm not like David, I've got children, I've got a profession, I'm managing my home and need to do a lot of other chores and just mundane things that could keep me from spending that hour. So don't rely on just motivation, just make it a habit of every day. And that consistency, I never win in the competitions. I'm not a great athlete. It's fine. What's happened is by going every day, most days for 9 years, is I'm fit. I've maintained good health. And so that's what you've just got to rely on. It's like brushing my teeth. I brush my teeth. I, water the plants or feed the dog, or the things I do every single day, and go to the gym is one of them.
I think sometimes you have to, as a gym owner or whatever like that, is when she comes in the door and says, I don't want to, I want a wall walk or something like that, to use humor to skip over the nonsense, because she walked in the gym, or she walked into life, or she walked into something. They don't want. I've never seen someone who says, I want to walk into my door, I want to leave worse than I came. I've never had anybody do that. So what's in the way? Get it out of the way for them so they can move forward. That's what a confidant does for you. Kind of circle back to that. Is you really wanted to quit smoking. You really wanted to go to the gym. You really, and now you're making these excuses up. Somebody needs to stop that and shove that, out of the way for you, so that you can step ahead and do what you sought to do, or make progress toward what you sought to do.
Yeah, if you engineer it into your daily life, right? David has taught me this, right? He has engineering background, and whenever we hit obstacles, he will engineer around it. And I apply that principle to, right? I've got my gym clothes in my desk. I've got my shoes in my car. I've got everything's automated. I really just have to change my clothes and go there. And he's got the workout plan. So if you really engineer it into your daily life, it's as methodical as brushing your teeth and the things you do each day. You don't have to rely on everyday motivation, but then going and having successes and feeling good actually then does lead to the motivation to go again. Every time I leave the gym, I can't wait till tomorrow. I leave it thinking I can't wait till we try what we're going to do the next day. So the success builds upon itself.
I think that one factor, not just the gym, but in life too, is the diversification of what you do. So if you just get in a mundane habit, you kind of lose motivation. But if you mix it up crazily, it don't matter. You can do whatever you want. But then if you don't know, it's the unknown that keeps you turning the page, of life. What don't you know what's going to be on the next one? What does guy think up next, or whatever like that, or what's life going to throw at me next? That keeps you moving forward. That's it.
Well, and I think there's a fitness advantage to that as well too, because it keeps your body doesn't adapt to particular exercises and things like that if you mix things up. So it's helpful with motivation, but also with fitness to mix things up. And to your point too, Melissa, I think it's a great point that, once you do it enough, once it becomes a habit, that takes sort of the pain point out of every day of making the decision to go, because you've just been habituated to doing it. It's just a part of your life, and you're less likely to fail or to quit if it's just, part of your life and almost second nature, just to put on your gym shoes and go.
It is. And I think you find, right, we did point out sometimes you're working against the grain, and you might think that, it's hard to work out at lunch or hard to take the time. But what I've found is it kind of opens up everyone's support. In my office, if I'm not heading out to the gym at 12:05, everyone's asking, "Are you heading to the gym?" If I didn't show up at the gym, David would call me and say, "Where are you? I expected you to be at the gym." Everyone I work with in year one would say, "Don't call Melissa at 12:30. She's at the gym." Like everything falls into place to support this commitment I've made, because I've showed I'm committed to it and I won't deviate from it, and everything falls around it. So it builds upon on your commitment. If you do decide to make the changes, prioritize yourself, and stick to it, I think you'll find that the rest of those around you seem to kind of work in favor of supporting that decision.
I think that's true.
Important.
Go ahead, David.
Go ahead. Sorry. Is if you're healthier minded, your healthier lifestyle, your day just got extended. You're not tired at 5:30 to where you just got to go to bed. You're just done. You just need to decompress. Or if you're healthy, you don't have that. It's fine to decompress. I'm not against decompression, but if you don't have to, it is a wonderful thing that you can go. It's 5:30, but daylight saving time, something like that gave us an extra hour of daylight. Let's go for a hike, or let's go for a run. Let's do something. Let's go for a bike ride, or whatever you wanted to do. Go grocery shopping, or whatever you wanted to do. It becomes available for you now if you're healthy to begin with. If you're not healthy, I've seen people who at 5:30, boys, they head to the couch. They got to turn find some kid bring me the remote because I'm too tired to go get it myself. Well, that's crazy. How you gonna do that day after day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year? That wouldn't be fun. So if you're healthy, you can do multiple things, and you can give up when you're ready to give up and sit down and watch your DVR or whatever you do. you can sit down at that point when you choose to versus you have to because you're not healthy and you just had to sit down because it's just over with. Boy, I had a hard day. I had to wipe sweat off my brow so I can sit and do nothing. No.
Yep. Well, David and Melissa, I've skipped around a little bit here, and we certainly haven't covered everything in the book. But is there anything that we didn't cover that you thought we just have to cover this, in our conversation?
One thing, and I honestly appreciate you didn't cover exercise but I do think it has a value, in that you don't have to go to the gym or wherever you want to and knock yourself out. You can stay. I call it a rate perceived effort, which is a personal training acronym or RPE. Choose in your life. Choose whatever the world you're comfortable with, and then stay there. You're going to get better, but once that becomes easy, then the next level that used to be like I'm picking on RPE of 5 or 6 or something like that. If that's your choice, you can move up. And I'm in the world of exercise. You can power clean some, whatever the thing is, at 125 and RPE is 6. Well, if that becomes easy for you, and now it might be 145, might be an RPE of 6. If you just ride it, stay put. If that's your comfort level, stay there. I don't care. But you're going to improve. You're going to find that you can make something more difficult in that same RPE. Ready for perceived effort. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Melissa, I was about to talk over you there, but did you, I guess, going back to the question about, was there anything that we didn't cover that you thought was essential to cover in the conversation? Obviously, I'm going to point people to your book. I'll certainly link to it in the show notes so that people can find it and buy it and hopefully read it. But if there's anything you thought that was essential to the conversation that you'd like to add,
well,
please.
You've done a great job of interviewing us, but I'm not going to miss an opportunity to talk about any of these subjects. So just one other thing I would bring to mind, another thing I see so frequently, right? I'm 50. I turned 50 in October. David's older than I am. But what I noticed, and this is, it's combined issue of sometimes it's at the medical office, or just society in general. There's some realities of people have health issues or aches and pains or knee injury from high school or a shoulder injury from work. All of these things are true and real, and they keep people from taking care of themselves. And I wish I could stop everyone around me from giving into that. And this is where, into our shared philosophy, your philosophy of thinking independently and your own personal responsibility and pushing back against the industry and media that's telling you differently. If you're injured, you don't sit on your couch. If you're tired and older and worn out, you don't sit on your couch. David taught me this. The problem with too much rest isn't more rest. Right? You don't need to rest more. Everyone needs a good night's sleep. You need downtime, but stop letting that stop you from being physically active and taking care of your health. I've seen David work and other trainers or other confidants. You can work with people at any level. So many friends won't go to the gym with me because they think they're not fit enough. Either they're too overweight or they have injuries. I have an injury right now. No one knows it. David knows it. It's nothing. It's things we're just working on, and you can always rehab through it. You don't sit at home. You work on different parts of your body. You work on stretches at the gym that can help ameliorate that injury and get you back to being active. So I see people at middle age just give up and think it's not for them. That's my joke with David. I should just start walking at the mall, and because, and I hate to see that tendency. It's a myth and it's a misnomer, and it hurts so much of us from having a high quality of life throughout the next years by not, your doctor. If I went to my doctor right now and told her something was hurting, she'd probably tell me to stay home from the gym for 2 weeks. I would absolutely ignore that advice. And I'm not giving advice here to others, but what I know is I need to go and I need to work with my trainer and my confidant to continue to stay committed to being active and healthy. So I would love to see people not give in to that. It's pervasive in society, and it's just dead wrong, and it's going to ruin everybody's life. And that's why it bothers me so greatly. I want people to be happy and healthy in their 60s and 70s and beyond.
Right.
I think one thing to add just real briefly to is it's exactly the same thing, but the genetic component. I've heard I don't know how many times that people shoot what's in my genetics that I have heart disease. No, biscuits and gravies were in your genetics, not heart disease. I have cancer in my genetics. No, you have cigarettes in your genetics. I think that people will use genetics as their excuse for why they won't take care of themselves, and that's crazy. And does it affect your self-esteem, your quality of life? Absolutely. There's no doubt in the world that it'll hold you back. And why do you want to be held back? Who wants to be held back? So
yeah, no, I think that it's a wonderful point. I'm glad you both brought it up, because there is sort of this pervasive defeatist attitude. Whether it's I've been injured, or I'm older, or I've got high blood pressure, or I'm obesity runs in my family. Those are all excuses, and people need to know and believe that they can change their own life, and they can.
Yeah, not only can you change it, almost all of chronic diseases are preventable. People become fit and healthy and get off of blood pressure medication, get off of cholesterol medication, see a change in their heart rate, or don't have to take the heart medication. It can cure it, and it can prevent it, and that's just absolutely a fact. And it seems like such an ability to have such a high quality of life that people just deny themselves of. And that's why we wrote the book, to try to get people to care enough about themselves and think for themselves, rather than be influenced by others in a negative way, to really make that change for their own life.
Mm-hmm. And you've mentioned, Melissa, a couple of times about with respect to the injury, for instance, that a doctor might recommend that you rest. A doctor at the same time might recommend that if you have high blood pressure, that you take high blood pressure medication, and give you almost no advice or bad advice about lifestyle changes that could resolve that issue.
Yeah, or anxiety. Yeah, anxiety. Right. One of the big anxiety or depression, the known way to treat, and I'm not saying avoid mental health treatment when you need it, but so much of anxiety and depression is also the mental component of the physical health is enormous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or, children too. So often people are so readily willing to medicate their children when, diet and lifestyle changes may resolve whatever the issue is. So I think part of this discussion really is to encourage people to take personal responsibility, take control of their own life, and be an active and informed consumer of medicine too, because it's not always good advice.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So we're coming up on close to an hour and a half here. Time's really flown by. So I think we'll wrap things up here, unless there's something else that you're just dying to say that we haven't covered.
We started.
Okay. So I think just first of all, thank you both for joining the show. I really enjoyed the conversation. Like I said earlier, I'll certainly link to the book in the show notes for those who are interested in purchasing it. I think, where's the best place they can go to find it? Is it on Amazon, or is there some other place that's good to buy it?
Amazon probably the easiest that everybody's got linked to, or probably computer access of.
Okay.
Well, Amazon probably the easiest.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. Another thing to remind people of is the ebook is available. I've had a lot of friends who enjoy reading ebooks. So that's another easy way to purchase our book.
I think one of the biggest things that makes a book achievable is the simplicity that we intended. Nothing very complicated. Keep it easy, keep it within yourself, and you'll do fine. You just don't go look for magic bullets that doesn't exist. So keep it simple, go to the basics, and be done. And then build on that. Start the foundation and build up.
Yeah, you mentioned the solution is in one part of your book here. You mentioned the solution is also reasonably easy. Eat right, exercise, sleep, and keep stress under control naturally.
If you start
and obviously,
everything gets fine.
Yep. Well, thanks again to both of you for joining the show. I'll link to that Amazon link in the show notes so that people can find your book in either the ebook form or the physical book form. I happen to have both because I like having both versions of the book available. But thanks again to both of you for joining the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to help us spread the message of freedom. Until next time, remember, you are the Forge of Freedom.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Forge of Freedom. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. For more information or to connect with Alex, you can go to forgeoffreedom.com or follow him on Twitter @ForgeOfFreedom. Until next time, remember, you are the Forge of Freedom.